Hey everyone, and welcome back to Vibrations and Manifestations. Today, we're diving into something I find absolutely fascinating, a real clash of the titans. We're talking Florence Scovel Shinn versus Abraham Hicks. We're going to break down their incredibly powerful but very different ways of looking at how you create your reality. So here's the big question we're tackling today. What happens when you pit that bold, speak it into existence magic from the 1920s against the more modern, get into the feeling vibe? Is one approach better than the other? Or, and this is where it gets really interesting, does the real magic happen when you learn how to blend the two? Okay, so here's a quick look at where we're headed. We'll meet the pioneers, see how their methods stack up, peek at the science of belief, unlock your flow, and finally help you create your own personal blend. Let's get into it. All right, first up, let's travel back in time to meet our first pioneer, the one and only, the original affirmation queen herself. I want you to just picture it. We're in 1920s New York City. It's the jazz age, the energy is absolutely electric, women have just won the right to vote. It's a time of huge possibility. And right in the middle of all that is Florence Scovel Shinn. Now, her style was, well, it was commanding. It was perfect for this era of new empowerment. And get this. When publishers shot down her book back in 1925, did she quit? No way. She actually used her own teachings to manifest its publication herself. She literally walked the talk. And her core message? It was totally revolutionary for the time. She believed your word is your wand. I mean, think about that. You don't just sit around hoping for things to happen. No, you speak them into existence with these powerful, faith-filled declarations. It was this super direct, no-nonsense approach that basically told people, hey, you are in charge of your destiny. Okay, now let's fast forward right into our modern era to meet a teacher who is just as powerful, but, well, let's just say they have a very different vibe. This is where the whole conversation shifts from your words to your feelings. And that brings us to Abraham Hicks, which is the name for this collective consciousness that's channeled through Esther Hicks. They introduced this game-changing idea called the Vortex. The easiest way to think of it is like this. It's a vibrational holding place, almost like a cosmic Amazon cart, where everything you've ever wanted is just waiting for you. So your job isn't to chase it down or force it to happen. It's simply to allow it in, by matching its feeling, by getting into emotional alignment. And that, right there, is the crucial difference. For Abraham, it's not so much about the volume of your words, it's all about the vibration of your feelings. Your emotions are the real currency. They're the signal you're broadcasting to the universe. That's the main tool in your creation toolbox. Okay, so on the surface, these two seem like they're from different planets, right? But if you dig a little deeper, you start to see they're actually singing from a similar hymn sheet. Let's talk about where they find that common ground. So what's the shared cosmic vibe? Well, they both fundamentally agree on a few huge things. First, that your internal state literally creates your external reality. What you focus on, you activate. The universe is listening, it's responsive, and probably the biggest one, getting rid of resistance. You know, all that fear and doubt is absolutely key. You have to let go to let in. Okay, but this is where the differences really pop. This side-by-side really lays it all out. Look at the language. Florence Scovel Shinn uses words like God and spiritual law. Abraham Hicks talks about source energy and vibration. Their primary tools are different too. Shinn is all about the spoken word, those powerful affirmations. For Abraham, it's your internal GPS, your emotional guidance system. Even their whole worldview is different. And honestly, this slide just nails the difference in their energy, doesn't it? I always think of Florence as this kind of spiritual boot camp sergeant, you know? She's in your face yelling, "Declare it!" Then you have Abraham Hicks, who's more like a wise, gentle therapist, putting a hand on your shoulder and saying, hey, just relax into it. Two totally different vibes. So, you've got the sergeant and the therapist. But you might be wondering, is any of this, well, real? Is there any science to back this up? The answer is a resounding yes. It's amazing, really. Modern neuroscience is actually starting to catch up and prove what these teachers seem to know intuitively decades and decades ago. And it all boils down to this incredible concept called neuroplasticity. Basically, it's the discovery that our brains aren't these fixed, static things. They're like clay. We can literally remold and rewire our own brains just by changing our thoughts, our emotions, and our experiences. How cool is that? So, how does this connect? Well, Florence's affirmations are basically a tool for cognitive priming. By repeating something over and over, you're pretty much programming your brain's search engine to look for evidence of that thing. You're carving new neural highways for success. Meanwhile, Abraham's focus on feeling good, that works on your brain's default mode network. What your brain does when it's just idling. It helps shift that autopilot from a state of worry to one that's way more optimistic and open. So here's the bottom line. You're not just whispering wishes into the wind here. This is real work. You are actively, physically changing the structure of your brain. And when you change your brain, you change how you see the world. And you start to notice opportunities that were invisible to you before. Okay, so now we get the science behind why this stuff actually works. But let's be real for a second and talk about a hurdle that trips up almost everyone at some point. That feeling that you're just trying way too hard. I like to call this the forcing fallacy. It's this idea that you have to be super intense, grit your teeth, and just force it to happen, or else you're doing it wrong. We've all been there, right? But what do you do when you're repeating an affirmation and every fiber of your being is screaming, "You are a liar"? This is where emotional bridge thoughts come in. They are a total game changer. So instead of trying to make this massive, unbelievable jump from "I have no money" to "I'm a millionaire," which your brain just rejects, you find a thought that feels just a little bit better. Something like, okay, things are unfolding, or, you know what, it's possible things could get better. See how that just feels softer? It's a way to gently nudge your vibration in the right direction without setting off all your internal alarm bells. So this brings us to the big finale. How do we actually blend these two powerful styles together? Well, I'm going to let you in on a really cool visualization from our podcast episode. I call it the Velvet Vibration Lounge, and it's designed to bring the best of both worlds into one amazing experience. Here's how it works. In the visualization, you travel to this cool 1920s speakeasy in your mind. First, you embody that powerful Florence Scovel Shinn energy. You hear her voice saying, "Your word is your wand," and you declare your desire with total power and conviction. But then you shift. You soften into that gentle, allowing Abraham Hicks energy. You let yourself just feel the relief of knowing it's on its way. You basically become the bridge between that powerful declaration and that soft allowing. And that's really the big secret here. You don't have to pick a side. You don't have to be Team Florence or Team Abraham. The whole point is to become your own manifestation expert. You can be divinely decisive when you need to be, and then you can be vibrationally relaxed when it's time to just let it all in. If you take away only one thing from this, let it be this. You know you're doing it right if it feels like relief. That feeling of ease, of a weight lifting, that is your true north. That's your signal that you're in alignment. It doesn't matter if it comes from a bold shout or a quiet whisper. Relief is the key. So if this resonated with you, there is so much more to dive into. If you really want to experience that Velvet Vibration Lounge visualization for yourself, you've got to listen to the full podcast episode where I guide you through the whole thing. And of course, please subscribe to Vibrations and Manifestations so you don't miss anything. Check out our Manifestation Showdown playlist and head over to the blog for even more. Thanks so much for hanging out with me today.